video on something I just want to have a quick play around with. So, I've soaked 500 grams worth of spaghetti in a little bit of water and it's gone soft. I want to kind of cook it in a pasta bake. So I needed it to be a little bit soft, and I didn't want to boil some water to kind of make it soft and add it to the water because it'd start to cook it. So what I want to do is I want to cook it in this little bit of pasta sauce, well, it's tomato sauce that's in this pan now, maybe a little bit of that soaking water, and then I'm going to transfer it back into this container with some tiny meatballs, and then we're going to cook it like a pasta bake and in the oven. And then I want part of it just to kind of go cold. Probably could just, no, let's not. Let's heat it up first in this tomato sauce, and I want it to go cold. I'm gonna put some like a white sauce on top of it, and then let's put a little bit of that water in, just a little, just to get it going. And then I'm going to put some meatballs in, tiny meatballs, and then a white sauce on top, and then I'm going to bake it in the oven with some cheese on top. I'm going to see how it turns out, because I quite fancy, I've seen deep fried lasagna, but I quite fancy having, I thought lasagna was a nice idea, but I kind of quite like the idea of there being tiny meatballs going through it. So I didn't want to make I suppose I could have just made lasagna and put tiny meatballs going through it, but I thought it might be kind of quite nice to do spaghetti. So I think we need a bit more liquid, a bit more tomato sauce, and there's probably, yeah, so blindly working my way through things here. I know what I'll do. We'll just rinse off. I pulled the meatballs out of the pasta sauce, out of the sauce. So let's just put those meatballs in that liquid to wash off that liquid, and then we can add more liquid in the form of that. That's better, isn't it? So that's going to be better. That's going to be better. And then we'll add that liquid into there, and then it's not going to fry on the bottom of the pan. That's going to work. That's going to be better. Just quick rinse off my hands, and then stir this around until the pasta starts to cook, and then we'll throw in the meatballs and kind of judge what kind of liquid we've got. I might throw in another tin of tomatoes, but I want it to be kind of quite solid, so we can actually, once it's cold, cut it into blocks and deep fry. I will cut off the white sauce from the top of it and the cheese, but so I want it to be kind of quite firm. So we'll see how this turns out. Yeah, so that's what happens when the pasta starts to heat, so we can put those two next to each other. So that bit hasn't had any heat get to it, and that one has, so that's started to cook. So I don't know why I started doing things this way. Well, I suppose we could have just put the pasta in the water until it softened, but I don't know. I quite like the idea of cooking it in the tomato sauce. So keep moving it around, nibble it gently. Yeah, so as the pasta cooks, it will soak up that sauce. Let's taste the seasoning as well. Although it was, the meatballs are made out of bacon, so they are kind of quite salty. But it'll certainly need some pepper in there, and the pepper mill's almost run out. Might just get enough. Plenty of pepper. Okay, that's working. So yeah, so heat that up. It's probably a long way round of doing everything, because to be honest, most of the things that I do tend to be the long way around. But it's just judging how much liquid I put in. I think that's going to be about enough liquid. Once I put those meatballs in, not those meatballs, I don't think. Not those meatballs. That we wash the sauce off. I think we'll put those other ones in because it'll need that sauce. Right, okay, so we're back when I'm going to put that in there. Right, so I added more sauce and a bit more water. So I think that's about right. I probably should have just boiled the pasta in some water until it was soft enough to mix into some tomato sauce and then cook it like that. So I'll put some white sauce on top, a bit of cheese, and then we'll bake it in the oven. And then we're back. Well, we'll see how it is when it's cooked, and then if it's going to work. But I might have to rethink if it doesn't work. So I'll put pasta on the bottom, then a few meatballs, then a bit more pasta on top, a few more meatballs, and then mostly pasta on top of that. So the meatballs are encased in the pasta. Let's have a look. Off, and then it's got cheese on top, so we cut with scissors. I suppose we should really just let it cool for a little bit. But I'm absolutely starving. I went out for breakfast and then I had a snack this afternoon. That's about it. So I'm missing something. Oh, I had it. Actually, there we go. So my only concern is it's not too wet. You'll see. But when it cools, it will firm up anyway. I just don't want it. I want it on the dry side rather than the overly wet side. We'll see. I'm only faffing around. I'm only faffing around. That feels like it's going to be okay. Yeah, that'll be okay. I'm sure we'll be able to deep fry that once it goes cold. Forget it's soft. Yeah, that'll be fine. Well, that's set up nicely as that. So I don't know if you can see without slipping off the plate, but that's when that goes cold, that'll set. It seems awfully soft. It seems a lot softer. Maybe I should have just boiled it in there, in some water. Anyway, when I fry it, I'll just whip the top off, and then we'll see how that turns out. I have cut the top off, so that's the top there. I've cut the top off, and I've cubed it. I have floured, egged, and breadcrumbed, and then egged and breadcrumbed again, so it's like doubled. So let's just give it a fry. Now I'm using some old cooking oil because I don't know how this is going to turn out, and I'm not bothered if it just kind of ruins it. That's okay. Let's see, the oil seems hot enough. Now hopefully the breadcrumbs will create a crust on the outside that the inside won't want to kind of melt and kind of explode. And then what I think we'll do as well is if we'll do the experiment of we'll do one of those as well with the cheesy top on, the cheesy saucy top on. I can just turn up a little bit. I don't know. I'd like the extractor on, but it'll be too noisy. Now, don't fry things in a frying pan, in a pan like this. It's really dangerous. And even though I am a professional because I get paid for cooking. So therefore that makes me a professional. You shouldn't really do it. It's really dangerous. You should use a proper fryer. I think that's probably going to explode. But we'll see how we go. So, if you haven't floured, egg and breadcrumbed, before, it's pretty straightforward. It's flour, which helps the egg to stick to things. I'm just concerned about that cheese on top, that it'll just want to fry or explode as it cooks. So dust it with the flour all over, and then egg. I've got a cold, so I'm just snotty and coffee. And fever dreams as well. I think I might have got a bit of flu. Yeah, although it might have been that cheese that I ate late last night. It's Boxing Day today, so it's Christmas Day yesterday. So I ate too much at my sister's house, and then came home, had a bit of a snooze, laid on the sofa, and then had then some cheese before bed, and wondered why I had a rough night's sleep. I don't like my meat turning. So then we dip in egg again. Makes a right mess of your fingers, does this. And we'll just rest that in there while we put these over. So ideally you want to try and keep one of your hands free, but that's very difficult. Right, slotted spoon. Let me turn that down a little bit. Oh, that's working, isn't it? That's working. Obviously, but it doesn't want to be too hot that it doesn't explode what's cooking in there. But it doesn't want to be, and also doesn't want to be too hot that it cooks the outside before the inside's cooked or heated through, and then obviously doesn't want to be too cool that it melts the pasta bake and then just makes it kind of explode. So, and I'm just using, it's just an experiment, so I'm just using some bought breadcrumbs. Ordinarily I would use the dry breadcrumbs that I make for my sourdough bread, but I've got these in the cupboard, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not that bothered, so I'm not having to do the work of making some breadcrumbs out of my sourdough. So, and we're not bothered if we wreck this oil, which it will wreck the oil. I don't know how we get around that, but anyway, so we'll just pause while these are cooking. Might throw those in at the same time. Let's put that, no, let's not put that in, because if it does it, I want to make a mess of it, and it'll take those with it. So we'll pause and I'll blow my nose so I don't sound as bunged up. Right, let's get those out and get that one in, because I think there'll be nice and dark on the outside, nice and crispy. Yeah, what do we think? Yeah, let's get them out and we can have a look. And then we'll get, it's heavy, and then we'll get that other one in that's still got the top on it, which I don't think is going to work. But let's just get that in. Let's see what happens. Maybe just splash a bit of oil so it seals the outside. That on there like that. And then I was thinking, I made it with spaghetti, didn't I? And I should have just used pasta shapes, shouldn't I? I should have just used pasta shapes, and then I wouldn't have had to faff around getting the spaghetti to soften. I could have just made it with pasta shapes. So we'll carry on cooking that, and we'll see how it turns out, and then let those cool slightly before we cut into them. Right, so that hasn't exploded. That's good, isn't it? That's good. So let's clean the knife, and then we'll cut into these, and we'll see how they turn out. I was kind of thinking, I wonder if we could actually encase like a mozzarella ball in this, maybe. Well, I don't know. We'd have to have a think about how we could do it. Let's turn that off. So, but maybe encasing a mozzarella ball. How would we do that? I suppose it'd be a little bit like a arancini, or a little bit like like if we did mac and cheese. I've seen that. I've seen mac and cheese balls. I wonder if you could put a mozzarella ball in, but you obviously wouldn't want to. You want to put the mozzarella ball in its soft state. You wouldn't want to cook it. You'd want the frying to be the process that cooks it. But then you kind of have to worry about getting the temperature right and it melting. But anyway, just random thoughts going through my head. So let's just nice and crispy. We'll cut across and we'll get a bigger surface area. And we've got a meatball right in the centre. Look at that. So that's worked. That's worked. And I could see how laser pasta would work. So that's worked. Let's cut into that. So that's the top. That's the top with the cheeses. So we need to cut down, don't we? See how that turns out. I see it does it, doesn't it? Top kind of wants to melt. So we need to take a picture of everything, and then we're going to need to have a try. But what we can do is we can move those out of the way. We'll try this. We'll try these, and then we'll be able to get that picture. But I suppose the only danger is that it's going to be a little bit lukewarm in the centre. But I want the top, don't I? Very nice. Looks very nice. Nice, you get a bit of meatball in there. So, that works. Not that difficult. And now we've learned how to do it, we could potentially do other things with it. So, I seem to remember. So, part of my college course, I had to spend some time in France at a cookery school in a place called Mazamet, near Toulouse. And we stayed with families, and this one family, the boy cooked us one evening. It was a set cold bechamel sauce that was solid, that was then fried, like breadcrumbed and fried. And the family didn't like it. I ate it because I was starving. But it was interesting, and that worked. That didn't kind of dissolve in the frying. So I wonder if you don't agitate a sauce once it's gone solid like that, if it stays solid. But anyway, so that works. It's nice with the meatballs in. I should have made it with the pasta shapes. Although the only problem with pasta shapes is that the centre wouldn't get filled up with sauce or anything, would it? So I don't know. But anyway, so interesting experiment. It works. I've learnt a little bit because I tend to learn more through trying rather than watching other things. So therefore, that's success.